Thinking of designing or redesigning your website this year? Then I'm sure you want it to look as good as possible. Well, I have good news. You clicked on the right video. Good job, you. Today, we're talking about some of the best trends going on in web design that will make your website feel more modern and less meh. And be sure to stick around to the end for my tips on which trends to avoid too, because that's equally as important. Hey guys, welcome back. If you don't know me, my name is Renita. I'm a website designer who loves teaching people about Squarespace, and I'm the creator behind Gold Standard Design. If you're a creator, blogger, podcaster, or solopreneur looking to dive into the world of Squarespace, I got you covered. Okay, so when you're designing your website, you probably are looking at other websites for examples and inspiration, right? Well, this can be a good thing, but it can also hurt you as well. What do I mean? Well, if the style and inspiration you're looking at is outdated, no matter how much you love it, it's going to make your website look outdated too. And yes, there is an argument that says, this is my website, I'll do what I want. And you want to design it to fit your personality and what you like. I get it. But I think there's room to incorporate trendy elements with your personality and style to give you a website that's authentic to you, but still fresh and modern. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's hop into these trends. Number 1, off-white backgrounds. If you've been paying attention to websites the past few years, you've probably noticed an abundance of whites and white space. Now, this used to be the industry standard because it was simple and easy to design around, but that slowly changed over time. While it's still a good idea to leave lots of blank space on your website pages, it's now much more stylish to have your background be beige, a faint version of one of your brand colors, or even something bold like black. An advantage to using one of your brand colors as the background is that you get to tie the look together effortlessly while also sneaking in your style at the same time. Looking at this website, you can see it's giving cohesive, it's giving theme to the brand, and this is the look that we're going for. Similarly, you can see here with this website, it's got a similar kind of look and feel going on. Trend number 2 is having smaller photos and having more of them. In the past, it was really common to have a full width photo as a banner on your pages kind of at the top or like as a section background, but now this feels a little dated. Taking the place of those really large images are clusters of smaller images along with color blocks and copy. Type is really becoming more of the focus and the front runner now, which is a huge bonus if you don't have the best quality images to begin with. Since the images are smaller, they don't have to be like super high grade professional resolution anymore. And that's great news if you hadn't yet found the time or budget to take those professional brand photos. This leads into trend number 3, bigger, bolder fonts. Think websites like this that incorporate more unusual font choices, and I mean that as in a bigger number of total fonts and incorporating more unusual fonts. Now, something else that's kind of popular is having an editorial feel to your font choices. What does that mean? Well, think of like newspaper articles or magazine layouts using font choices similar to those. And if you're saying, wow, Renita, no one reads magazines or newspapers anymore, okay, sure. So go have a look at online news articles instead. Or you could just browse some of these really cool sites for inspo. Now, in addition to your font choice, the size of your type also matters. Having huge headings as a background is really in right now and will make your site pop, but there's no need to put like a whole sentence into these huge headings. Think, like 1 or 2 words at most. You can even use these as your page banner instead of those full width images that we talked about earlier. Trend number 4 has to do with everything boxes and lines. Think outlined buttons and headings, boxed in content sections, etc. Honestly, this is probably the easiest trend you can incorporate since it takes almost 0 effort. So if you've already designed your site and are just wanting to update it to be more fresh and current, I would start here. I mean, outlining your buttons is literally just a setting, and adding lines between sections or around photos is super easy as well. Trend number 5 is asymmetric layouts. You might have heard this called anti-design, and while I think the concept of anti-design is much bolder, you could say this fits underneath that umbrella. Basically, this trend means that not everything is perfectly aligned on the grid or positioned evenly on the page. A vertical image block might be next to a horizontal image block, or one part of text might be aligned higher than another one. You can overlay colored boxes of text or graphics on top of each other, too. Nothing needs to be perfectly symmetrical or even, and this really adds visual interest and allows your creativity to flow without being confusing. Trend number 6 is about your services page layout. What you want is to have your services laid out in paragraphs or blocks instead of neatly lined up on the grid with maybe some graphics above the titles. Here you can see there are distinct sections for each service with an image, a nice block of color, and then some copy off to the side with a link to a more full page describing the service. This is kind of like our asymmetric layout trend, where you have a bit more creativity built in and an overall fresher feel. As opposed to something like this, where you've got everything lined up, perfectly on the grid all at once. This layout gives you less room to showcase your services and details, so we definitely want to go with the other one. Okay, now that you know what you should implement on your website, let's talk about 2 trends you definitely should avoid. Up first, we've got rounded edges. You might have noticed an abundance of images or graphics in these rounded frames or circle shapes or ovals, and I think this has become so popular because so many website platforms have made this a feature directly on their platform. So just for some context, like in the past, if you wanted to have an image fit into this cool different shape instead of like a rectangle or a square, you would have to use an editor, something like Canva or Photoshop, to get the image into that shape. Then you would have to export it and then upload it to your site. But platforms like Wix and Squarespace have cut out that editing step by offering these shape frames directly on their platform. So all you have to do is upload your images, which you would have to do anyway, and then pop them into a shape. It's definitely a win for ease of use, but it's kind of a loss for design, because this trend has become so overused that it's kind of not cool anymore, and some web design experts have predicted it will be on the way out soon. In addition to photos as shapes, you might have seen like circled lines around words that the designer wants to highlight, and I would put this into the same category of the round shape frames, but used sparingly, I think this is still effective at drawing the eye and can still be cool. The second trend to avoid is novelty scrolling effects. The most common example I can think of is Apple's website, where you can see the background is still, but content moves over top of it. But even Apple has moved away from this more recently in favor of more traditional scrolling effects on their site. I think you'll agree that we all universally expect a page to move downwards towards the next section as we scroll downwards. But with novelty scrolling effects, you might have a background that seems kind of anchored, while other things will scroll on top of it. This can be confusing, especially on like your phone. I don't know if you've ever tried to scroll through one of these websites, but you don't really know where one thing ends and the next one begins. And the last thing you want is for your website visitors to be confused or think your site is glitchy and leave. Even though this trend might look cool, I suggest staying away from it. Okay, now that you're ready to design your super cool and trendy website, you might want to check out my free Squarespace website prep guide. It's got everything you need, from how to gather research on your industry and competitors, to drafting your calls to action, to prompts on how to write your own website copy. And I've even included a few more key design tips than the ones that we've already talked about to help you craft your own unique website that showcases your business and personality perfectly. I've linked it for you down in the description, so go check that out. Now, you might be saying, Renita, couldn't I just use AI to build my site and not worry about what's trendy and what's not? Like, wouldn't AI already know what's trendy? Great question. Watch this video next, where I break down the role of AI in website design and go over what it does well and what it does less well. If you found any of this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Squarespace tips and tricks. And let me know in the comments what other things you're interested in learning about Squarespace, websites, or online business. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!